Okay, so we know that Susanna overheard that Cornwallis and his crowd are going to go after George Washington, um, and not only George Washington, but also Lafayette. All right, so let's see what she does. As I enter the room with Auntie Ruth's beloved Indian pudding topped with fresh cream, my stomach gurgles again. It's no wonder I haven't had anything to eat or drink since the outrageous aggression began. The mustache officer speaks up. Sir, how many guards shall we post tonight? The regulars are standing by awaiting your orders. As we are all bleary eyed from our long march, we shall post only two this evening. The first shall be here by my door. Given your knowledge of the area, Captain Frederick, you shall serve as the second, a roving sentry on the grounds. We have no need for more. No doubt these rabble rousers in North Carolina are still unaware we've departed their miserable colony. It takes all my will not to roll my eyes. Here in Virginia, their little navy floats about in paper boats. Such a pathetic attempt, he chuckles. And of course, the French boats are too far too showy to venture upriver and provide a real assistance to these treasonous rebels. General Cornwallis pauses to toss back yet another jigger of whiskey. Rest ye all well tonight, men, for tomorrow shall be the momentous day for our children's history primers. He pauses. Then we must find ourselves a deep water port to send some regulars back to defend New York City. Our intelligence says General Washington's attack there is imminent. My heart pounds like I've just sprinted across the length of Bolingbroke. It's a wonder the redcoats can't hear it thumping. However, I keep my face blank, pretending I've paid no attention. At the first opportunity, though, I leave the room and I find Penny waiting with several peach pies. Miss Susanna, you hear that? He's he's getting Lafayette tomorrow and putting him in chains. Her eyes bug out as we stand transfixed, gaping at each other. I re-enter the dining room with a tray, eager to hear more of Cornwallis's gloating. The boy has no way of knowing we're here. After all, even our own commander-in-chief doesn't know. Walking over to the fireplace, he rests a hand on the empty mantel and turns his face to his staff. In fact, no one knows. No one could possibly know of our plan, save for the gracious lady folk here, more likely simpletons than members of a sophisticated network of spies. He raises an eyebrow as laughter ripples through the room. The idea of a widow and her clumsy daughter posing a threat to their brilliant scheme is nothing short of preposterous. Will this torture ever end? Although General Cornwallis' derision doesn't surprise me, I, I smart from this insult nonetheless. After all, we bowling date back to the Jamestown settlement. First families and Pocahontas and John Rolfe are all my great grandparents. If it weren't for this cruel war, I'd be a grown woman with social standing in my own right. Come tomorrow, General Clinton shan't be angry when we have the boy in our possession once and for all. Then perhaps our king will realize who should have been his first in command from the start. He snickers, impressed by his own cleverness. But we shan't stop there. Tarleton, you and your men in green shall go capture Jefferson at Monticello and then go into Charlottesville for their feeble General Assembly. The rest of us shall seek out a deep water port on the Chesapeake so we can receive supplies and ferry our men back to New York before the Fox invades. Aghast, I depart the room. not daring to sneak a glance at Mother. The door bumps into Penny's pressing against it. If they get him, they right. This war be over, sure enough, uh-huh. She shakes her head. Yes, sir, Miss Susanna. It be over then. Back in the serving kitchen, Mother and I stare at each other, wide-eyed. Grabbing a candle, she motions towards the cellar. We race down the steps into the darkness and huddle together in the corner. Despite what we have just overheard, the momentary distance from the enemy and the nearness to Mother soothe my soul, allowing me my first moment of relaxation since the occupation began. Mother sputters. The arrogant fool. I'm taken aback. I'd love nothing more than to spit in that pompous face, and I would if it would do any good. I have no doubt what she means. All I want to do is slink into the tunnel and fall into a deep sleep. My world is unraveling piece by piece, and I don't have the energy to even dream about fighting back. Mother moves from anger to despair. Oh, dear God, what shall we do? She whispers, wringing her hands. The flickering candlelight exposes her acute anxiety, so well masked upstairs, but which now clouds her face with deep concern. I've got a mind to head up north and warn General Lafayette myself. Her notion is ridiculous and thankfully all but impossible. After all, Britain's Southern Army surrounds us on 3 sides, and the river which contains us on the 4th. Her every movement would be visible to hundreds, if not thousands, of the king's men and escaped slaves. She can't be serious. I pray not, but I'm compelled to reason with her nonetheless. But, Mother, there isn't time. Didn't you hear? They're setting out at dawn. They're going to capture him tomorrow before midday. Oh, there's time all right. Mother frowns with a grim set to her chin. There's plenty of time for an old woman to take a ride in the moonlight along an old Indian trail. I gulp at this gibberish. Even before the war, Mother wouldn't allow me to travel on that isolated road during daylight hours by myself, and she never allowed riding at night even for the boys. The idea of her heading out there alone in the darkness is absurd. She daft to even contemplate it. Oh, it's the bravest of intentions, finding General Lafayette and warning him herself. However, there's no doubt many a soldier would notice her leaving Bolingbroke. She certainly couldn't saddle up at the stable with regulars covering every inch of the ground. Moreover, Arnold destroyed many bridges during the raid, and now the nearest one is quite a distance away. In addition, presumably, every plantation along the river is also covered with sleeping regulars. My mind sprints ahead. Oh, in God's name, how in God's name could Mother possibly cross the river in total darkness? Even the muted sound of paddling a canoe would attract attention. Of course, swimming poses a grave danger, especially when weighted down by waterlogged petticoat. As I learned as a child, is heavier than a handful of bricks. Moreover, the pitch darkness would surely disorient her. Even if she somehow made it to the other side, then she wouldn't have a mount. No, although her plan is noble and well-intentioned, it's futile. The most terrifying possibility of all is General Cornwallis looking to consult with Mother while she's absent. I shudder. I couldn't possibly explain that away, not in the middle of the night. And if they apprehend Mother along the route, they'd hang her. Although soaked in sweat, I shiver. A tingling sensation rises along my spine. Never mind, don't worry yourself, Susanna. Mother interlaces her fingers in mine. For the first time since I was a tot. I know in my heart I can't do it. So don't you fret. There's too much at stake. The redcoats would surely notice if a lady of the house disappeared for hours, even at night. As distressing as it is, we'll just have to watch history unfold for our side of the river. She releases a defeated sigh. Losing General Lafayette will end French support and ruin our cause. There's not there's not we can do but pray. She frowns down at her chapped hands. If only we could get word to Peter Francisco. Even injured, I have no doubt he'd set off and find Lafayette, making us all burst with pride once again. But alas, we haven't the time. My mind scrambles for the answer. There has to be one. We can't give up now. If we don't take action, our cause for liberty will be all but doomed. Poof, gone, over. This would be the final blow, crushing our patriot hopes, dreams, and sacrifices forever. What would Father say? Just stand by in safety and let them capture Lafayette? Don't even lift a finger to warn him? I don't think so. So many others have risked everything for freedom. It's my turn. Now I'm petrified as I am. But Mother says, there's a way. I should be the one. I'll warn him. Mother is silent, as if my idea is so preposterous that she can't even process it. I beseech her, you must let me do this. Her eyes grow wide and she's all but growls at me. Nonsense, Susanna, you're far too young, and it's much, much too dangerous for a girl like you. My voice is surprisingly steady despite my tingling body. But I can do it, Mother. I must, and I'm not that young. Not anymore. By now, my heart is pounding so hard, I fear it will burst out of my chest. Mother massages my hand. It's too much for you, my dear, but you're quite brave to offer. But I'm resolute. We have no choice. There's no one else to do it. I do have a choice, Susanna, and I have chosen no. Mother's voice is cold. That shall be the end of that. Mother, as patriots, we must get the word to General Lafayette. We have to do this. It's our own duty. We've got to do it for the boys and Father and for freedom. After sacrificing so much for so long, we can't just let it end like this. We can't sit on our hands while they round up General Lafayette and send him to the gallows. If we don't at least try to alert him, we'll regret it forever. I'm adamant, openly defying her. For the first time in my life, I must go, Mother, I must. That's what Father would want me and the boys to do. Don't you know what this would be like, Susanna? A full-fledged spy? And the redcoats, do you know what they'll do to spies? They hang them. Take an example for all to see. They won't care that you're an inexperienced babe. You'll be only one thing to them, an arch traitor, as loathsome as Lucifer himself. Bolingbroke would become the grandest of bonfires. Everywhere would see and smell it for miles, and Cornwallis would march off every slave, including our Penny, to join his ranks. I'm speechless. Every nerve in my body is electrified. Even my hair feels like it's pulsating. In a strangled voice, I respond in a measured pace, reasoning as I go. If all the patriot boys in America can risk their necks every day for years, then I can risk mine for one night. Surely that's the least I can do. I'm terrified too, Mother. I'm shaking just thinking about it. But isn't every soldier petrified going into battle? I'm sure the boys are. If we expected them to endure that, then I should endure it too. Mother's bleary eyes well up. Her first sign of tears since the redcoats arrived. You're all I have left in the world, my dear. I've given up on both of my boys and sacrificed well beyond that. But this I cannot do. I can't bear the thought of losing you. To me, That's worse than losing the war in Bolingbroke altogether. Tears spill over as her shoulders shake. For years now, I've supported our cause with every breath I take, even before Father died when it was barely anything at all. I've poured forth every ounce of energy from the depths of my soul. But here is where I must draw the line. Let some other mother sacrifice her last child, her only living daughter. I've buried two, and I shan't bury a third. I simply can't bear it. I'm not so strong, not anymore. She hangs her head as if ashamed of her weakness. Finally, this war has done what it set out to do. It has broken me. After a moment, Mother looks at me in the eye. Susanna, you cannot put your life in such jeopardy. I admire your pluckiness, but I must forbid you. Her forcefulness takes me by surprise. Of course I understand her feelings, but I must do this. I have to warn General Lafayette, or all will be lost. No matter how terrified I am, it's time to stand on my own. If I want to be treated like a young lady, then I must act like one. I can't hide in Mother's shadow any longer, no matter how much I long to do so. Mother, I must do my part. If the boys are still alive, God willing, this may save them. And even if they're dead, I cut myself short and take a deep breath. I continue, my voice faltering. And if they're gone, I still need to do this, so they haven't died in vain. Mother looks away, her melancholy eyes welling with tears. Very well, Susanna, I can't fight you and Cornwallis's army, not all at once. As a fellow daughter of liberty, I know my obligations. I must give you the utmost support, no matter how brave my reservations. Sweet relief courses through my body. This mission is crucial. Lafayette is America's last and only hope. I can't let Cornwallis extinguish our precious cause without giving it my all to take care of this scheme. It's time to face my fears, otherwise Patriot defeat is imminent. As we march back up the spiral stairs, I feel like I'm heading to the executioner's block. My entire body tingles, and suddenly I've never been so awake. It's hard to believe I was stifling yawns less than an hour ago. Finally, I have an opportunity to affect the outcome of the war. However, now that time has arrived, well beyond the scope of my fantasies. I'm petrified. All right, she's going to do her duty.